He said, quote, "I'm getting this monkey off your back and you're not even going to clap." Is supposedly a playful jab at some of the Tea Party favorites in the room. Anyway, joining me now is Evan McMorris-Santoro. He's the White House correspondent for BuzzFeed. Evan, so it's an interesting contrast there. We showed Speaker Boehner this morning doing sort of the perfunctory, this is all President Obama's fault, but then leaving the room singing zippity-doo-dah. We can read too much into these things, but he really does seem to be relieved at the way this thing has sort of resolved itself. Has he been able to resolve it?
Well, I think everybody's pretty relieved at the way this resolved itself. Nobody wanted to go down another kind of crisis road that we've been down so many times. So while this is not exactly, I think, what Boehner or Republicans would have ideally wanted, I mean, they really wanted to use the debt limit, as you mentioned, to get stuff that they wanted out of the White House. They really wanted to do that, and that idea has kind of fizzled out for them. But I think everybody's sort of feeling pretty good. My colleague, Kate Nocera, our congressional reporter, I talked to her on the way over here, and she said that Nancy Pelosi was positively beaming today after the vote. It seems like everybody's sort of in a good mood that something got done, I guess.
Well, so I wonder how much the mood, though, extends to the Tea Party, because so much of the story of debt ceiling brinkmanship over the last 3 or 4 years, and so much of the story of Washington over the last 3 or 4 years, has been this idea that there are so many Republican members in the House in particular who maybe want to vote one way on whether it's the debt ceiling or any number of other issues, but they're scared to death of the primary challenge that's going to come from the Tea Party, if they vote supposedly the wrong way. See, we have Tea Party people. I know I've seen some quotes out there from Tea Party people already making noise that Republicans who voted for this, there were 28 of them, are going to pay in their primaries. Is there a reason to suspect that, that old Tea Party threat is still alive after this?
I think it is on a lot of other issues. I mean, one of the things that's come out of this is this idea that we've seen yet again, this Hastert rule, this idea that Republicans can only vote on things that a majority of Republicans will vote on. That's the only thing that will move in the House. This is yet again another example of that sort of being scrapped in favor of moving bills and getting Democrats to vote on them and passing things that way. Now, Democrats want to see that happen with things like immigration reform and things like ENDA, and even with this ceiling vote, which, is sort of forced by the fact that the fiscal crisis thing didn't really go the Republicans' way during the shutdown, and it cost them a lot of bad publicity. It caused a lot of bad publicity for them. We're still not seeing any evidence that that Tea Party sort of hardcore wing will break on things like immigration reform or things like ENDA. So, they're still around, and they're still pretty powerful. This is just an example, I think, of them taking the loss after the shutdown and trying to do something else.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like part of this story is that what is happening tonight and maybe what will happen with future debt limit hikes. Now we probably won't have to deal with this for another year, it sounds like. It's linked to what happened last fall. It's linked to the fact that Democrats basically refused to blink at Republican demands to negotiate over the debt ceiling last fall, and that, in turn, is linked to the conviction that President Obama and the White House sort of drew from the 2011 showdown. I mean, is that really what we're seeing tonight? Is this the end point of something that really started in the summer of 2011, and the Obama White House really kind of regretted how they handled it all the way back then?
Well, I think we saw that when the White House was a little bit more forceful about this and made the decision not to negotiate at all and took things up to the brink, went along all the way to the end, that it ended up working out for them. And I think that's we've seen with this whole sort of year of action Obama has talked about in this whole 2014, that there's been a whole idea at this point to maybe kind of abandon the idea of reaching out to a lot of these Republicans where you have this Tea Party wing that just won't budge, and definitely won't budge when it comes to Obama, and just kind of go off and do things your own way and be a bit more forceful. So if you want to track it from that sort of no negotiation stance all the way through this year of action, executive action focus from the White House, I think there's definitely a pretty direct line there.
All right, Evan McMorris-Santoro from BuzzFeed, thanks for joining us. We appreciate that. Enjoy